Hi, and welcome to Poetry Street. My name is Chip Williford, and it's a pleasure to have you here at the Riverhead Free Public Library, and also hello to all of you in your comforts of your own home on Zoom. We have wonderful features, and we are so excited to share those with you. But first, I would like to let you know that Poetry Street is the room without a roof where every voice is heard. And we acknowledge that we are on stolen land. New York City and Long Island has always been the gathering and trading place for many indigenous people. We acknowledge that we are guests on this land. Poetry Street and our work in this area of Long Island is situated on the ancestral and unceded lands of the Lenape, who are the original caretakers. Also the Canarsie, the Shinnecock, Montaukett, the Reckonwalk, the Mansay, and the Haudenosaunee. We acknowledge and respect the many indigenous people who live on this land and continue to make ongoing contributions to this area. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to my co-host, the wonderful, the beautiful, the talented, and author of Sleepless Nights and many other books, Maggie Bloomfield.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Poetry Street on the Road. Chip said it, it's the room without a view where every voice is heard. And I am Maggie Bloomfield, and let me tell you a little bit about Poetry Street, because we have a pretty interesting history. Poetry Street was started 9 years ago by Susan Dingwall and a wonderful Riverhead poet, Bobby Brown. We were at the Blue Duck Bakery on Main Street for many years, and then it had the nerve to close. And we kind of drifted around a little bit, and then something called COVID hit. And we managed to bring up Zoom and do it on Zoom. And now we have this wonderful new home. And I want to thank the library and everybody who works here who've been so hospitable and allowed us to have this great venue.
What would you like to put on?
Is that somebody not muted? Okay, hello and welcome, Zoom people. Please make sure that you're muted. The way we handle this venue is we think of poetry sort of like basketball. And what I mean is when somebody reads a poem, if you love it, we hope you will make a great deal of noise, like crazy noise, stamp your feet, scream, carry on. And if somebody reads a poem that you don't like so much, do the same thing, please. Because we want to encourage people to write. And we've had a lot of people come here and be a little shaky in the beginning and come back. And every time they come back, they're a little better. So what we want to do is encourage poetry. Encourage the loving of poetry and the writing of poetry. Pam Cook is the one who's in charge of the library here in our particular venue. So I particularly want to thank her, and I want to thank Chip, and I want to thank Claire, who's the mother of invention here, and also one of our features today. It's such a wonderful thing. After the features, who are going to be wonderful, we're going to have an open mic. So hopefully you signed up for the open mic. And if you didn't, you'll have another opportunity. We're also introducing something new today. I'm not quite certain how to do this with the Zoom people, but we're going to figure it out. I think if you put something on chat, it'll work. It's a community poem. There's a jar on the table. There's a sheet of paper and there are little strips of paper. What we're going to ask you to do is write one line, just one line. And I'm going to put it together for next time as a community poem. And if you would like to hear the community poem, you have absolutely no choice but to come back next month. And we do have some new people today, I'm thrilled to say. So welcome to new people and a lot of old friends. And today, we have the mothers and fathers of Poetry Street reading for us. We have 3 wonderful features. We're going to dive right in. And our first reader will be the wonderful Claire Lundberg, who keeps us afloat in terms of Zoom, especially every month. And also, coincidentally, is a fantastic poet. So please help me welcome Claire Lundberg.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you, Chip. And really, when I saw the lineup, I was honored to be featuring with both Bill and Adrienne, who I met in the 9 years ago in the early days of Poetry Street. And I'm honored to be at this library because it's the library I grew up in. It's the library my parents supported through their paycheck and their taxes, and my mom's service to the library as being one of the friends of the library. So I really feel at home here. And in my bio, it says something about being the first chairwoman of Poetry Street. Well, what that means is I went to the Blue Duck Bakery early and set up the chairs for everybody. And I thank Chip and everybody who did that today. So I mentioned that I was going to read some poems that took me through pre-COVID and my mother's illness, and then got me through the post-COVID era. And this was one I wrote shortly after my parents sold their home. In the late days of fall. In the late days of fall, I ask this of you. When you closed up the cottage by the shore, did you remember to drape the chairs with Nana's blue sheets? Did you drain the last of the gas from the tank? Did you pull up the mooring to store in the shed, remove the ramp from the floating dock, store the oars and oarlocks, take the plug from the dinghy, flip it over on the high reeds for its winter's rest? And in the fleeting days of summer, before those chores were necessary, did you remember to kiss the girl who laughed at your jokes, touch toes with her in the sand, swim with her and the fishes in the sea, lick the salt from her shoulder where it had dried, watch the sunset as the bonfire rose on the beach? And when next spring arrives to tackle these chores in reverse, when it's time to fling open the windows, air out the must from the cottage, sweep the cobwebs from the overhang on the shed, secure the ramp back to the floating dock and fix the missing rungs, will you remember the girl who made you smile at the fleeting end of summer?
Wow.
And then my poetry took a little bit more of a serious turn as my mom's illness progressed. And this one is called Nurses No Longer Wear White. Nurses no longer wear white. That's how we uncovered the episodes of senior psychosis, creeping in about our third week in one hospital bed or another, unable to sleep at night with all the shrieking bells and piercing white lights. Shrill noise and artificial daylight permeated her waking and sleeping hours. And the nurses, nowadays dressed in scrub blues and pinks and greens and yellows, Nursery colors, really, the colors of baby blankets and crib sheets. Hustled about her when the bell rang or the alarm signaled. She was getting up alone again, dispensing meds, changing IVs, and drawing blood from collapsed veins. Around the clock, but only after she finally drifted off to sleep, or so it seemed. She pleaded for a sleeping pill, like the narcotic she got the night before from the real nurse. You know, the one dressed in white from head to toe, with the starched cap and sturdy shoes. That's when we recognized the delirium. None of us trained as nurses ourselves, but my sisters and I kept vigil in shifts. The oldest would make a perfect charge nurse, charging here and charging there, demanding answers from doctors and surgeons, tracking procedures and expected outcomes, though nothing was certain. The other two, too practical themselves to get involved in what they couldn't control, ordered her meals, fetched her ice chips, and rang the bell again, if not answered promptly. They'd arrive when promised, leave when their assigned shift was over, and ask no pressing questions. But I'm the one who would linger in twilight hours, waiting and praying, holding her hand and wiping her brow, then sit bedside, reciting poems from youth, cherished and still remembered, waiting patiently with her for that nurse dressed in white from head to toe with the magic sleeping pill. And it continues. Fall begets the season of dying. Fall is upon us, the precursor to the season of dying. Hues of green in the leaves take on that rusty tinge. Golden grains and reeds turn to dark and moldy browns. Moisture seeps out of foliage, leaving it dry and crackling underfoot. Yet temperatures heed not the farmer's forecast. An unobscured sun emanates piercing rays, unbended by a northern breeze. We are lulled into believing 'tis an Indian summer, though Jack has offered us not his first full hard frost. And so the sweet pea tendrils bear blooms again in late October. A lone white iris beckons out of place and time in our waterside garden retreat, rising stately from its bed of now crimson ivy. Bearded blues stalk our seaport village, mum beds again as if it were early August. I wheel my mother out into the still warm courtyard, flagstones to soak up the warmth of a spring-like afternoon, and pray for reblooming. Another stroke has withered her limbs and slowed reflexes and responses. Still, her limbic system remains intact, and she hungers still for fresh air. Slipping between acuity and confusion, she too is surprised by the balmy false fall. I pray she too fails to remember that fall begets the season of dying. And then COVID came, and it was a Good Friday in March. While waiting for my mother to die on a Friday in Lent, my brother remarked it felt like a Good Friday. The hours between noon and 3 when our Lord hung on the cross and our mother forbade television, the radio. She wanted us to pray, and yet she had neglected to teach us how. All those years when we were young, but her sister was dying, her mother was dying, her brother died. All while Kennedy, King, Bobby, Emmett, and the unnamed died. So much death in the 60s. Now here, the woman we were never to call she lay dying alone and separated from us, one of the first few on the far eastern coast, dying among what has come to be nearly 300,000 with no immediate end in sight. How were we to treat her death as special and remember her among such collective mourning? We did it by each being separated in our own rooms, torn apart by COVID. Much like the separation on Good Friday, each of us in our own space, the 5 of us not speaking, but not fighting. A moment of peace for my mother, while my father continued to toil alone. It's a mournful absence of self, but a great reminder that no matter how far apart we are, how different our experiences, we never really grieve alone, and we find hope again later together. It was a Good Friday.
Oh.
And I have just one more, which I participated in December of 2020. I've forgotten that, in a Zoom retreat for people suffering from grief and who were isolated by themselves with the death of a loved one. And it was on Zoom. And the assignment was to write a letter to yourself pre-COVID to tell you how you would get through the next few months. So this is my letter. Dear Claire Marie, today is March 8th and you're celebrating your parents' birthdays early as best you can with your brother. Kiss them both goodnight, as tomorrow will be irrevocable. Correct word. Your life will change in ways you can't imagine. The panacea of death and loss and anger will surround you such that you're dizzy from reeling. You won't be able to fathom the people who will be lost to this disease and how they touched your life. They'll be erased from the landscape of your knowing whether they have died or not. They will go missing. You will not want to join the club with others who share your story of loss, displacement, and lack of control. You'll want somehow to be different. But then it's hard not to be grateful to know that your mother was released early and did not have to struggle with unspeakable indignities. Not all will be revealed to you at once, for that would be unbearable. Little by little, it will dawn on you that your life as you knew it will cease to exist. But that is how I wish to be unveiled, so that you can create new pathways, new coping skills, new structures to a more solitary life, but in many ways, a more rewarding one. Your strength, patience, and tolerance will be tested in ways you cannot begin to know, but you will rise to the occasions as you have no alternative. There is a reason you do not keep alcohol or firearms in your home. Continue to do that. It has served you well up until now. It will serve you well going forward. Abstinence has the same virtues as the dearth of feeling you're about to experience. Wearing a sackcloth once a millennium is not without merit. Thank God one of the first pieces offered up to you was a Quaker anarchist guide to a pandemic. Your inner strength and intrinsic value will be remolded, but never removed. Life will go on, but now it must be reimagined. Thank you.
That was just beautiful, Claire. Really, thank you so much. So heartfelt and moving and just beautiful. Before I introduce the second feature, I just wanted to point out that you lovely people on Zoom can sign up for the open mic in chat for us, please. I think I forgot to say that. And hopefully, it looks like it might happen today. We can bring our features back after the open mic for a little bit of an encore. Our second feature is one of the fathers of Poetry Street. He's a wonderful poet. He's a wonderful man. He's a faithful supporter. He runs his own poetry venue, which I think all of us have had the pleasure of participating in. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Bill Batcher.
Hi, yeah, 9 years, my goodness. I was at the very first meeting, and I don't think I've missed more than a handful of meetings since then. So, okay. Okay, if I stand here, I can stand here, okay? All right. I find as the years go by, I find myself writing more poems about getting older. So this is called Phoenix. Aging Teton forest floors reveal no young sprouts until tragedy, smokers' careless match sets trees ablaze, acres raised. Months later, baby pines born from tight, cone-enclosed, heat-released seeds. Summer, living leaves, uniform green, attract no notice from the passing cars, but dying in the autumn splash with oranges and yellows, crimson reds, roadside hills, briefly, joyously alive. Abandoned, paintless, saddle-roofed barn, camera captured, neatly framed and matted, now graces a nursing home hall, reminding staff beauty and life is seen in the old, the dying. This is called First Name. My first name once was Bill, energetic Bill, ready to sail uncharted seas, Bill, always learning, Bill, young lover, Bill, young father, Bill, young grandfather, Bill, Bill with ideas, Bill with dreams. Having begun my 9th decade, I've earned the merit badge of maturity. I have stories to tell. I know how things should be done, but I balk at those who want to tag a new first name on me, Old Bill. It's been 2 years now since my wife passed away. We were married for 60 years. This is called Again. How much love would fill those 80 years? How much laughter? How many heartaches, tears? How many I love yous would cross the tongue? How could we know when we were, oh, so young? I miss the twinkle of those eyes, the glances, miss the whispers, miss the taking chances, miss the tender touches of that hand. So I still wear, and always will, that band. As one, we started young, as one grew old. With so many magic memories to hold, I am the most heaven-blessed of men. So how can such love find me yet again? This one I read just a month or two ago, so if you've heard it already, I'm sorry. But it kind of fits in with the previous poem. Old men look for love. Old men look for love as much as young, to kiss again and cuddle and caress, to have a reason to go out, to shave and dress, to hold a hand while favorite songs are sung. We are too old for that. Now act our age, we're told. Our time has passed. We had our chance. The music's stopped. We danced our final dance. The band has all packed up and left the stage. Sufficient now the love of children, grandkids, and the recall of what once had been. To disrespect the love now gone is sin. No. To resurrect that love, to once more feel what we had felt, though different now and strange, is also good and, oh God, just as real. Okay, enough about Adrienne. On to some other poems. My friend Pat Riley, I don't know if she's watching or not, but she lives down the hall from me. And she's always warning me about these Irish superstitions that she swears by. Like you must never put a hat on a bed or a pair of shoes on the table. And if you enter a home, for whatever reason, you should always sit down before you leave again. So this is called All Because I Didn't Sit Down. Well, sure enough, the other morn, as I was running late and began my daily errands in a disconcerted state, I grabbed my hat and jacket, glasses, watch, and wallet too, and my list of far too many urgent things I had to do. I shut the door and headed, nearly running to my car. I met no one to talk to and delay me. Good so far. It seemed my car was eager too to have someone unlock it so it could start its day. And now I reached into my pocket. I closed my eyes and shook my head. For what did I now find? In all the pandemonium, I'd left its key behind. I went back in the house to grab the key and went my way and never gave a thought to what my neighbor used to say. Pat warned, among the Irish, there's a fact that's quite well known. When you enter someone's residence, even though it be your own, whether only for a moment or a long extended stay, for whatever reason drew you there, before you go your way, be sure to stop and sit you down on bench or stool or chair. If you do not, bad luck will follow when you leave from there. As I said, I heeded not those words, though now I wish I had, for all the luck I had that day was definitely bad. I turned the motor on and pressed the gas and shifted gears when the awfulest of grinding sounds assaulted my poor ears. I quickly backed the vehicle from its allotted space and hit a metal garbage bin. My bumpers coup de grace. I drove on down the boulevard, but things still weren't right. Wouldn't you know, I had to brake for every cursed light, except one which was yellow, so I didn't slow and stop. Oh yes, I saw it had turned green. It red. And yes, so did the cop. The medical appointments I had had were duly missed. The stores were out of every single item on my list. The bank declined to cash my check. Oh, what a surly clerk. Although the weather now turned cold, my heater didn't work. And this was how it went for me as the day proceeded. Oh, how I wished those Irish words of wisdom I had heeded. Perhaps if I had sat a moment, be it not for long, I'd have been blessed with a day when not a thing went wrong. Anyone know the word pareidolia?
The doctor squeezes hard to see what
right.
hurts.
Friend Rick taught me this word recently. Although I've been aware of the phenomenon all my life. Pareidolia is when you see images of animals or people in the random arrangement of things that you encounter. You know, when you look at a wall socket and you see those two vertical things in their eyes, you know, and underneath is a little round mouth. That's pareidolia. Pareidolia. Trolls in the trees chortle as we stroll underneath. Bare spots between branches become facial features, and lumbering limbs wave to us. A breaching whale in the sky sighs as it avoids a contrail harpoon. A sulfur-crested cockatoo surfaces in the sofa's shadow on the wall. And faces are everywhere, staring from cracks in the paint, smiling from rows of pansies, peeking from the terry cloth bath mat, warming two imaginative souls in the folds of a blanket. This is called private part. I keep it under underwear and outerwear and overwear. I keep it where the underwear will keep it out of sight. But everybody everywhere knows what is there, knows it is where the underwear and otherwear can hide it day and night. My secret part's a secret that everybody shares. My private part's not private. And guess what? No one cares. My mind. Now that is where I keep my secret hid. I hide my thoughts and no one knows. I keep them under many clothes. None can know what part is there. They only see my outerwear. They do not know what's hidden there. It is a part I do not share. But if I chose that part to bear with someone close for whom I care, that truly private part, would she caress my thoughts, empower me? Would we a wondrous thing then bear? This is a treatise on holes. As long as a shirt has 4 holes, one for the neck, one for the waist, and one for each arm, I don't care how many others it may have. Though it's nice if my socks have but 1 each. Pants need 3 holes, waist and 2 legs. However, I found a fly hole can be handy, as can pocket holes in any number. I prefer 3-hole loose leaf pages to 2. So if one rips, the page doesn't just hang there until I secure it with a reinforcement. Do they still sell reinforcements? My neighbor said he had holes in his screen. Seems to me a screen needs hundreds in order to be a screen. Clarinets and flutes have holes in abundance, yet trombones make do with 2, 1 at each end, and seem to manage the melody quite well. Someone long ago prescribed 6 holes for a pool table, 3 for a bowling ball, and 18 for a round of golf. Having concluded, I suppose, the game's played better that way. A bottle, jar, or cup ought to have but 1 hole, a straw 2, likewise a teapot, a pail only 1, and a beach ball none. Ears, noses, and other body parts are a matter I prefer not to elaborate on. Ideal arguments and pavements have no holes, yet I keep encountering many in both, including the stanzas I just read. Finally, a poem for the season of spring, for the birds of spring. I hear them. As I walk in silence, I hear them in the canopy above. The chirpers, chatterers, grinders, twitters and tweeters, the hatchers, whistlers, singers, clickers and peckers, the questioners, arguers, conversers, and echoers, the alarm sounders and the mate seekers, the worried chicks and adult reassurers, the singers for no other purpose than to be heard, to declare, I'm alive, I'm here, I'm me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. That was just delightful. Let's hear it for our first 2 features. Wow, it's turning into a lovely afternoon despite the rain, right? This 3rd feature is someone I have known for some time. I met her when I was in graduate school, which wasn't as long ago as you think. And Adrienne was in administration, and everyone loved her and thought that's nice. And then she came into class one day and read a poem, and we all fell on the floor because it was such a fabulous, fabulous piece of work. And she has also been part of our Poetry Street family before. And I am very happy to welcome Adrienne Unger.
So good to be here. And, it's been a long, long semester. I used to work at Stony Brook, but I finished my last event yesterday and I actually have some energy and I feel like reading today. Great. Okay. Get that set up right.
This out the way. There you go.
All right. I'm going to pull this up just a little. Anger management disclaimer. All views about to be expressed, thoughts formerly held within the tarry recesses of my hypothetical Chicago Black Panther alter ego, that other id once contained and rightly classified alongside the split personality who wanted to shotgun the driver who cut me off last week. Those judgments have bled into the tip of my tongue and are necessarily those of my more genteel, mild-mannered self. Let me count the ways. No. Let me make myself perfectly clear. No. The sideways road from let me think about it a little more and I'll get back to you on this. No. The more aggressive form of let me see what I can do or I can't promise you anything. If you want to stay friends, the proper conjunction would be I'd love to, but. Sincerity dangles like a hanging chad, a yay vote almost cast. So take the mulligan and I will try to pencil you in. If the response is you've got a future, say thank you, pack your bags and leave. And my family, we are partial to hell no, usually followed by a small cough and a pursed expression that indicates the absurdity of the preceding question. The politics say yes, then maneuver circumstances, time of day, weather fronts, etc., to negate the air of the affirmative, laying the fault on someone else's tab. Let's put a pin in it. Attach your gaping desires on a small prickly implement that draws blood and can deflate the buoyant at a depressing rate. Pin a tail on that donkey, but recognize when you are in the presence of the genuine no. One spawned from cold, hard fact, like the two items of differing weights that still fall at the same speed. Remember, the crystalline patterns of snow do not repeat, and you will never enter this house again. I'm gonna save this one for later because I'm kind of on a roll here. Okay. A grand old tree grown in a city felled. It was never my cherry tree, yet I mourned when it was cut down. I had borrowed its shade from a neighbor's yard, but it didn't just belong to the man who had felled it, or the neighbors before him, his parents' generation who planted the sapling and whose 100-year girth we enjoyed from a 4-inch curb in the alley on hot summer days, our backs at his fence, displacing dusty sparrows looking for our Cracker Jack crumbs. Our elementary school behinds were just wide enough to sit on the cement edge that made the difference between a rough seat and sitting where the rainwater ran. When people ask why my city street throws back more June, July, August heat than our greener neighbors, why the solar flares of the sun do the wave with the heat coming off my sidewalk while my electric meter spins, I remember that tree whose branches created the canopy that signaled the start of our neighborhood baseball games because the batter's box was under its cool limbs. I remember where the players met and debated the parliamentary procedures of the new season. I remember where afterwards we played Old Maid, Go Fish in spades. From the petrified stumps that litter our blocks, I can imagine the maples that used to line our city streets, trees that must have surpassed our roofs and let the locals see for themselves the passing of the seasons and sample the sounds of the rain in the woods. But much like a needed traffic light at a dangerous intersection, it is hard to get a new tree. But I can get a Subway or a Mickey D's. When tempers fried like the proverbial egg, we'd say, man, chill out, go sit there under the tree. When I needed to ruminate on the ups and downs of the intersecting venues of my world, I could sit under that tree. And when I needed to conjure a place without sirens, slamming doors, or 100-degree days, I could sit under that tree. It was a different kind of giving tree. It never asked what we needed. It simply gave and gave and gave. As a teen, I sat at the foot of my Boulevard Buddha. It spoke to me in rustling leaves to show me the winds of change are always present. Dropped leaves on my head to remind me winter may be coming, but so is the spring. And let me hear the calm beats of the rain to say peace can be found anywhere if you choose to listen, rather than taking a hot head into a hot house to come out hot with a knife and a tale of woe. So I will find a spot close by where the weeds are growing well, and I will plant an oak tree that I will never live to see at its mature peak. But I'm okay with that because I know what it will mean when it reaches its full, leafy, grandiose height. Wow. All right. The last days of walking through the doors of my church. There is no name for a Baptist who no longer prays, who only sees the backside of a pew for weddings, funerals, and last Christmas, but falls silent when the right chords from a gospel-painted riff rises from the radio. They exchange pleas for love with a call to prayer left rusted in the wreck of their devotion. So many sermons I didn't listen to, obey, or be damned, but each Sunday I waited to hear the chant, "The Lord is in his holy temple." That meant something. This sanctuary is home, even if the occupants disagreed. As a child, before the start of service, I would lay with my face turned up to the arched walls and revel in the silence of stained glass and the painted heavens. I ignored the face of God portrayed behind the dais, put there by an artist when the Poles lived here and couldn't imagine we Negroes. I was told the face of God is in me, and I believed. I met this Black woman, a monk wrapped in cloth the color of a beating flame, who called herself a Christian Buddhist, which to me sounded like she was eating the cake she still wanted. But she said she couldn't completely let go, but I had let go. Not when the news is full of people committing crimes in the name of God. I had let go, not when children die because this kind of death no one can explain. I had let go when my pastor overlooked my grief for the length of a day, when he used my mother's wake as an occasion to bring in more souls to help fund his Lex parked out front. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord is in his holy temple. People I had known all my life sang this song. The lyrics said, ignore the fool pastor who spoke no remembrances of my mom. Let the chorus voices fill you with light. This call to worship, this song about burdens and strong shoulders. This song about hands to catch me and arms to hold. I wish I could remember the rest of the words. So there is a war going on. The line of cars form on the left. So the burial is quick and my sorrow is put on a clock. I had let go, not because the crane that lifted her coffin swung her like a ball on a string. I had let go, not because I imagined her in there as jostled in death as she was in life. I had let go because I cried for sanctuary and I wished I could remember the words. All right. The hair thing. Sister, I see you with your rope of locks thick like unloomed thread before pressed into servitude the way the farmer bales the wild winter wheat. To see you be the master and commander of this mane you grew, this emblem that can slave you to constant tribute and is the key to the costume that hides the sorry fact that no one thinks you are really pretty. Not yourself, your sororities, your mother, your grandmother, her mother's mother, all the way down the line to that first person that deemed it nappy. And as your ancestors observed what surface beauty caught the man's eye, began the hair pursuit with it twirled around and tugged through hot irons, the lie, then no lie, still a lie because they both burned your flesh. A wig over your head, then tied to it the way you are tied to it, except for a meso-prehistoric time, circa 1960 to 1970, when the fed up few saw what our blown out froze looked like, laid like, would not part like. These days, the mob or the church would not have demanded more, could not further sanctify what can only be touched by the hands of their partners in crime. See if your girl will let you run your fingers through that weave, and in the end only stings the eye of the beholder. I am worn, made, I dream, but I chance that my man will still want me when my due is 1 inch tall. I dare scrutiny from the NSA for my radical naturalistic style. Will stand the stream of sour looks or no looks at all, and I will shine in a room with too many mirrors. All right. Okay. Read about some love. All right, moon poem. And this has an epigraph. To say I love you is at once everyday and extraordinary, like the glorious fact of the moon. Poet Chen Chen. Let's stay here under the midnight moon. Roll down the car windows, pull back the ragtop and open up like night roses. Let's recline the bucket seat so we're smiling at the man in the moon. High-faced and bright, like he knows what we're thinking, like he knows tonight we are wishing upon the moon. Let us tell each other our stories about when we knew we'd love the moon or wanted to blast it from the sky. Too beautiful and far away, like your first love, a hole to crawl inside, like I wrote in my first good poem. Let's pour out the wine because I don't want any excuses when I change the subject to talk about moonbeams, moon pies, the moonshot, moon rises, and you put your finger to my lips and say, shh. Let's forget the colors we can't see. This full moon has turned everything black and white, yin and yang, the light in my darkness. There are no gray areas, no palettes left, just your mouth, my skin, and the fire in your voice under the moon. All right, I'm gonna end with one more poem. It's a poem that I read that, oh, it's so beautiful, but so horribly sad. And I said, this is beautiful, but horribly sad. And it was in a workshop that I took over Zoom during COVID. And the assignment was to sort of write in a similar style, but of the poem that you wrote. And my first immediate response was that I have to make this poem happy in some fashion because it's beautiful, but so horribly sad. So this is what I came up with. All night I hear the noise of wind laughing after Alexandra Parsonic. All day I hear the noise of wind laughing. All night I make the day outside me. I make the night that begins at your command, that lasts because night soars like wind through day. All day I hear the whisper of someone finding me out. All day you desire me slowly like the wind that lasts slowly soaring. All day I sing incandescent songs, songs of snow. All day someone checks for me and I check for a hint of you. The noise of this adventure into the circle near this joyous light shaded by my despair. Adventures of someone who still believes, who still sings. All day someone pushes me forward, then breaks the circle into tender light. All day you burn in my hands, become my hands. All day you transform yourself into that champion in the circle of my betrayal. All day I see something bend toward my seeing, something temperate, molded of breath, unfolding the sound of someone laughing. Abundance rains brightly and day becomes glass. Day, the tears in the eyes of the reborn, glorious daylight breathing the balm that sends me back and bids me to claim a waiting space without want, without malice. All day I go to someone, I follow, I lead the fray, I proclaim a tale of belonging. Blue birds over blue skies, my arms open, cleansing rain. I liberate the numb and unknowing heart. I don't need to know anything but this perpetual singing, this flutter in the day, this secret, this infinity, this surrender, this new existence. All day I see that embrace is me, that the soul laughing voice is me. We can paint with fine brushes, remake the broken truth. We can live the heart nestled in the bones and wind emerged in the mended sight of the heart. All day, I ask you why. All day, you tell me love.
Adrienne Unger, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear it again for all our wonderful features today. Oh, my goodness. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the open mic, then I'm going to turn it over to our chippers. We ask, if you have signed up to read, that you limit your presentation to 3 minutes. Please, no more than 3 minutes. Otherwise, there's a hook that comes down. Also, we're going to sort of zoom back and forth between in person and people on chat. There is no need to do a great introduction before your poem. Please let it speak for itself. If you have to do a line or two, that's fine, as long as you limit it to 3 minutes. I am anxious to hear everybody today, and I'm going to turn this over to Chip.
Wow. Our features, wow, Bill, Adrienne, and Claire. Oh my gosh, such a wonderful mixture and so perfect for today. Okay, we're gonna jump right into the open mic. We're gonna start off with Tony Fontana and then come to Maria Anderson. Tony Fontana, if you could please unmute. Tony, you're on Zoom. Yeah, it's your turn. Would you like to read? Can you unmute yourself? Unmute. There you go. Tony, where are you from?
East Mauritius.
East Mauritius. Okay, great. You want to read for us?
No, I must have raised my hand, scratched my head. I'm sorry, but first time here, and I'm thoroughly enjoying myself.
Well, that's awesome. That's what we're here for. This is Poetry Street, the room without a roof, where every voice is heard and listened to. Okay, Maria Anderson is going to be our first reader today, and she is an amazing poet with an amazing son, and you'll see why I love her so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Maria Anderson.
I actually have a favorite of Chip's for y'all today with a little twist on the end. My elephant. Traditionally, elephants are majestic creatures, beautiful long trunks and soft brown eyes, memories to last a lifetime, and hearts as big as trees. Then there's my elephant. My elephant is 2 feet tall. He has beautiful brown eyes that can see your soul. His memory only lasts a few hours and he runs into walls. My elephant plays with cars and his giggle is infectious. He has a smile to brighten anyone's day and he loves hugs. Run-of-the-mill elephants can't jump. Mine jumps off of everything. Elephant hearts are 27 to 46 pounds. Mine weighed 22 pounds total. Like cats, elephants purr. Mine growls at people who touch his food. My elephant has a funny personality. He also wears his heart on his sleeve. He loves to play, run, and laugh. He hates to sit still. My elephant is the light of my life, my good luck charm. He is my morning, noon, and night. He is my gray hairs. He's also my headaches, my stress, and my bliss. Honestly, I would never ask for it any other way. My elephant, part 2. Years ago, I wrote about my elephant. Well, we have some updates for y'all. He can still see your soul and run into walls. He loves dinosaurs and is now 4 feet tall. As you know, elephant can't jump and mine never stops. He wears his heart on his sleeve and is always ready to pop. You can tell an elephant apart by their ears. Mine sings anything he happens to overhear. Elephants can do crazy tricks with their trunks. Mine does parkour off his loft bunk. The 2 teeth on you can see on an elephant are long. My elephant's 2 front teeth are gone. Elephants are pregnant for 22 months. I thankfully only have 2 more to go. So, little Anya, before you join this world, what your brother wanted you to know is elephants value family, and he does too. But the older males leave, and Isaiah can't wait to meet you.
Where is Isaiah?
Isaiah, come here.
Gotta see this kid. He is so adorable. Is he around?
He is. Come here, Isaiah. Quickly,
Oh, gosh, he
please.
is so cute. Wait
And no,
for it.
here.
Wait for it.
Where'd you go?
Oh.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Now,
So good to see you.
My mommy has a dog party.
Okay. All righty. Okay, so the next poet I had the pleasure of hearing at the Poetry Place, Margaret Wall. Is an incredible poet, and she looks like she's in the car somewhere. Where you going, Margaret?
Hi, Chip. I'm in the car with Judy and Sheila.
Hi.
We just came from Great Neck Library, so we were doing 2 poetry events at the same time.
Oh, you guys are
We're very
awesome.
multi-talented.
Awesome. Well, you're on, so give us what you got.
All right, I'll say a Sanrio. And it's about a late crush of mine. Ending credits. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank here. I'm on the spot. Ending credits feel so final in movies without you in them. I'll repeat it. Ending credits in movies feel so final without you in them. And that's for my late crush. His name is Frankie. And Judy says hi. Hi. And so does Sheila Hockenberg. And we're on our way back from Great Neck, and we enjoyed the features, and we're enjoying the open mic on our way home.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna go with Bruce Johnson. I also heard him at the Poetry Place the other night.
I very much enjoyed the features, and I love this reading. I wish I could get out to Riverhead more often. I have a poem today called Youth. Youth is wasted on the young, says the cashier at the campus deli. She shakes her head as the freshman walks away with a bag full of junk food and his ears full of iTunes. It's the only way I respond, considering my own, which is beginning to appear as distant as hers. Then I think of how we all get our chance to waste it, and what a good job I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bruce. Melissa Longo started at Poetry Street 9 years ago with us. We're so happy that she's still with us. She plays the kalimba, and she'll tell you all about it and give us a wonderful poem. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, Chip. Hi, everyone.
So wonderful to see you.
Wonderful to see you too, Chip. Oh, thank God I did my makeup, you know. So I was recently published in Suffolk County Poetry Review 2023. That's the anthology of poetry by Suffolk County poets. And the Bard's Annual does that. And I have a heart-shaped kalimba today. So I'll read with the help of my tiny friend. I myself am tiny, but my other tiny friend, the kalimba. And I'll read from the book. It's called Sending and Receiving Love Is the Most Brilliant Feeling Ever. Times have been strange, hurtful, and sometimes dull. But don't let this stop you. And thus you fight for yourself, for the underdog. Because love hasn't always been easy. It never is. but love is simple indeed. When we cook, we don't always follow the recipe. When we plant, we sometimes forget that they need to bloom in tune to the songs that are in our heart, to the wind.
You always used to amaze me. Thank you so much for that. Okay, we're gonna come here to the library and go for my list. We have Steve Barakin. And I'm sure that I messed up his last name, so I'm gonna ask him to come. And I did? Oh, great. I'm getting better up here. Okay, Steve, thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. This is really exciting for me. For years, I wrote for other people, and about 8 years ago, people told me to write for myself. And this is the result. This one's called Deeper. I'm inspired by everything I see. So, brown and gray, the winds howl. It seems some days there's not much difference between April and late September in the early morning hours. Although April provides some splotches of patches of gold and yellow and purple. Out here where buds and bugs stretch and yawn, the swan couples return to show us true love. Squirrels and ducks come back, keeping my dogs busy. Animals are so much more accepting of change than we are. They can tell the difference, not as we, wrapped in expectation and emotion, selfish in our need to be heard, not our desire for the something more we seek. One good rain and all will be green, the brown and gray dismissed, stored away in our sheds and garages with the tarps and cords that covered our outdoor cushions and furniture, waiting to be called forth once again when spring turns into an endless summer till right after Labor Day. The air each day warmer in promise and degree than the day before. Springtime bursts upon us, it seems to me, like it has so much beauty and hope to share that it just can't wait. It gives our emotions and eyes colorful relief, bathing us in the temporary fashion of birth, a painless metamorphosis to the observer, a weight of work and effort for others. But the brown and gray hold their own colorless beauty, proud in their own perception of what they allow us to see, showing us things not for the living, of the living, a glimpse perhaps of what the shadow of beauty is and the eternal emptiness that holds its own seasons. Its cold winds howl in the pain of its emptiness with threats of nothing to come, nothing at all. I recoil from its intention. Unlike the warm spring air that blows and whistles cheerfully through the green, rejoicing in its reluctance to be still, to spread its color and joy rather than render my world of beach, woods, and animals prisoner and hostage. Grass as brittle as old straw, and cold sand underfoot, my wooded paths like tentacles wanting to seize the last bit of my optimism, its payment, my melancholy, paid in full. Life is four long seasons, different for each of us. Our humanity, my humanity, feels each one, each carrying a vigorous payment due on top of the time already spent, paid in full through the lives of loss and profit. I do not talk of fall. The name alone scares me. Do all things have to die to live again? Must I fall silent and still? Slumber forced upon my bones and thoughts? It's a mere prelude to the brown and gray of my age and station. What if the warm colors never return? Waiting and aging. I have no time for either. I am a child of the endless summer, at least until Labor Day.
Thank you. A child of the endless summer. Wow, how beautiful is that? Nancy McSwain. Can't wait to hear her. Yes. Hi, Nancy.
I'm gonna cry. I'm so excited. I don't know if any of you were yelled at for daydreaming while you were in elementary school. I was. This is called A Strange Land. A strange land is calling to me, further up and further in. At the end of life it begins, yet now I hear its melody wafting over me. It promises of ancient hills, soft winds caressing, unfettered by possession, causing my mind to be still but strangely filled. Sometimes when I start to write, the visions begin to fade, but as I sit back, the pictures invade, and again it's in my sight to my grateful delight. Green hills of home. Though I live in a flat land whose earth is mixed with sand, surrounded by sea and foam and beaches where I roam. My strange land is green with rolling hills, an expansive sky that promises flight, that leads me on to higher heights, a hope fulfilled, a land that thrills. My heart aches with wonder. This landscape is for me. It is part of the mystery, a promise of life to consider, a waiting song to ponder.
Unexpectedly, there he was, backbent, a good man broken down. Every day, waking instinctively, strapping on weights of silence, full bag of tears, bundled in loads of secrets. He carried it all wherever he went. Wet with his own sweat in a puddle, there he stood, still backbent. After seeing his dire reflection, Uncle called out for the priest to be sent. Walking by, a good Samaritan heard his call. Without a thought, dropping it all, he ran as fast as he could, taking a shortcut over the tracks as added trouble mounted his back. Deep into the other hood, cautiously watching out to the left and right in the middle of the coldest night. There alone he stood, wet with sweat, out of breath, heart pounding, back all bent, completely exhausted, legs sore, arriving where sent, then collapsing at the sanctuary's door. No moon or stars were in sight, but a good man did receive the last rites. Thank you so much for that. Claire, do we have someone on Zoom?
Not so far.
Okay, so we're gonna come back here and we're gonna ask John Finn to please read.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Finn. I also got my humble beginnings 9 years ago in the Blue Duck Bakery. Okay, I have since written 2 books, and I've chosen today a selection from the first one, which is available in this library. Yellowstone. The Great American Rocky Mountain Range parts with respect to its grandest volcanic cauldron. Yellowstone Park, geological giant by gauge, yet a formidable nurturer for its noble children. The winters with respect are notoriously unbearable. With the few remaining residents, I am in awe. Their battle to survive is inspiringly incredible, diligently awaiting distant spring's thaw. Only the wolf pack howls with reverence. This is their time since days of old. Lean times for the high grazers now commence, while the royal grizzlies sleep away the cold. The supervolcano's plateau at 8,000 feet is a frozen juggernaut bison withstanding. Using their giant heads as snowplows to eat, they're the only ones to prevail on this frigid landing. This miracle is a place where geysers continually flow. Primordial boiling pools give us profound clues that could devastate our country and the world filled with woe. It's an invitation to the future, win or lose. President Ulysses S. Grant in 1872 signed a bill that affirmed first in the world That's such a place to be protected evermore for international view. The US of A, what better way? Liberty unfurled. The spring does with it bring a plethora of life. Dipper birds, grayling, cutthroat trout, and pronghorn. Erudiously, the fauna scratch through winter's strife. The waters of lakes and streams again born. Amazing otters, elk, bison, fox, and bear, pristine beauty unseen on mere words. Wondrously spirited creatures know why they are there. To see the glacial lilies and wild flowers feed the hummingbirds. Wyoming Park, Montana to the north, Idaho to the east, all share, even Arctic hare, on this optical feast. Beyond beauty and compare is every noble beast. This grand land maintains glorious creatures, apex to the least. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, John. You know, I don't know if everyone knows, but Maggie Bloomfield is a wonderful poet. And I know that she's going to read something for us. So we're going to bring her up right now. And she's also going to talk to you also about the community poem. And if you're on Zoom land and you want to read, please put your name in the chat so we'll know so we can call on you. Thank you, Maggie Bloomfield.
Thanks, Chip. Yes, I'm so excited because we have these new people and people coming back, and wow, how wonderful. This poem, I'm going to read my poem first, and then I'm probably going to piss a few people off. I hope not. You know, I have a button on my refrigerator at home that says, "Poets are supposed to disturb the peace." So this poem was written about 4 years ago, and I hoped and prayed I'd never have to read it again. It was when we still had an iota of compassion, or at least I did, for this particular person. It's just come up for me again. It's called Melania's Inner Monologue. Do you think I don't see how they're laughing at me? Do you think I didn't know the way this would go? You thought I was your pet from the moment we met. Do you think I will forget the betrayals and deceits, how the anger in me eats at my soul, my self-esteem, how each morning I pretend it's all a dream? Imagine you are dead, that I never have to watch you glue that rat's nest on your head or consume disgusting food. Smile in public when your rudeness makes the world laugh and gag, when your exploits are exposed like a pornographic app and they can't begin to know just how low you can sink in the swamp of corruption. Jesus Christ, I need a drink. For a time, I could hide till that escalator ride brought about this living hell. If I knew the honest story, I would tell it to the world. How you cheated, lied, colluded on crimes no one can imagine. While I stand, a Stepford mannequin, wishing not to see your face again or observe your ugly progeny who have never been a part of me. You pretend to love our son, whose whole life has been a scare, a paralysis of affect, closely tied to no affection ever aimed in his direction by the father who is finally exposed, his shaming spotlight, spilling tears on both the boy and me. I will never be your lover, but I hold to role of mother and that title of First Lady, both hilarious and shady. Still, I stand here at your side with a residue of pride, for I came here as a stranger and discovered life could change. So I feel some obligation to America, the nation, as a child of immigration. I know I cannot guide you out of arrogant insanity into what I once envisioned as the man you never could be. I am not the trophy wife you think you own. I am a woman, and when the time is right, I will do just fine alone. Thank you. Now, I do want to remind you about the community poem. And I also want to tell you that that Judy Turek, who didn't read for us today, is going to read for us next month as one of the features, along with the wonderful Maya Dreamwalker. So I hope you all can come back. And I encourage you to write a line for the community poem, put it in the jar, and come back and hear whatever it is I come up with next month. So I will turn it back to Chip. I think that might be the end of the open mic, but I'm not.
Well, let's just double check. Anyone on Zoom would like to read? I know that we have Nina Yabel was here,
I think she's gone.
but I'm not sure if she wants to read or not. So
Are we going to do the encores?
yes. I'll read another poem. This one is entitled In Between. Stolen moments delivered spontaneously, last forever, remembered sporadically. Fettered to the past, silently watching, surviving another moment of uncertainty. Certainly, there is a way out. Is freedom ever so burdensome, with or without carrying heavy secrets? Quietly contemplating decomposed dreams, possible outcomes dire. With furious longing, I watch you leave your being. As a fading smile, already I feel your absence and presence become one. Thank you. Now we would love to bring our features back. First, our wonderful Claire Lundberg. I'd like to bring her back, please. Let's give her a hand.
Thank you very much. Am I standing in the right place?
Yeah, you stand where you want, I'll find you.
I mentioned earlier that I participated in a grief workshop called The Missing. I didn't give you all the details, by reimagine.org. And next month, I'll put something in the chat. It's a wonderful place to go. And I was honored, actually, when I submitted my poems. Later that weekend, a group of actors read them aloud, and I didn't have to. So I've forgotten my bio that I've actually had my poems read on Zoom. But this is a poem I wrote about that 2-day workshop, The Gift of This Weekend. I came here today only after discovering this program yesterday. I rewarded myself with the gift of this weekend. I've been selfish in not sharing these resources with everyone. I have kept it to myself, not out of fear it wouldn't be great, but not wanting to share this space with anyone but strangers. Strangers are kind and judge you on your presentation, not your baggage. I took a chance that the one I did share it with would not see or follow my advice, knowing my world revolves around my needs at this time, and that may not match anyone else's needs. I know by now no one likes to willingly follow any advice at first. I am where I am today because of every path I've followed leading up to this space. I opened myself to healing and moving forward. I think my aching knee wants me to sit still today and absorb everything, to soak in the messages, the healing power of words, to learn to reimagine my life, to be engaged. My life has forever been changed by Zoom technology and by the connections I make both close to home and far away. I'm coming alive in a new and different format. I get to see the inner version, my true self, come forth. I get to shine and bask and feel the glory of being alive. Touch is overrated if it comes from the wrong person. And simple touch that does not move your mind at the same time sets the stage for conflict. I've no room for unnecessary conflict in my life right now. The world has created more than its fair share in 2020. I have to simplify my desires and appeal to a higher need. There is nourishment out there that does not come in the form of food and family and fair weather friends. The higher spirit is what moves me. And I have one very short one, so you don't know that I'm all doom and gloom, inspired by some of the work that Bill has done. And it's called Smile and Pray. I had to have a picture for the website. Can you imagine? She's posting your photo on Facebook today. All you can do is smile and pray. Pray that your chin doesn't double in size. Pray the flash covers the bags round your eyes. Pray that your mouth is not open with food and your fingers not pointing in a gesture too rude. Pray that the background detracts from your hair and no one tags your name where comments appear. Because these photos will show the places you've been and to your way of thinking, the condition you're in. If it were up to you, only photos would post that never failed to portray your beguiling most. But you can't always be there with shades and a hat, makeup all done and thin, never fat. With a timer preset on your new selfie stick or able to edit the photos she'll pick. So heed my advice when her phone turns your way. Your best bet is to just sit there, smile and pray. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Smile and pray, love it. Okay, Bill Batcher.
Okay. In the Far East, this is the year of the rabbit. Someone pointed out to me that I seem to write a lot of poems about rabbits. In this case, we were at a writers' conference, and even though we had gone to bed, my wife felt hungry. So I knew I had a box of cookies in the car. It's called Meeting a Rabbit at Midnight. You were startled to see me slinking across the parking lot at midnight, this half-moon night, scavenging for food, wondering why I am not asleep in bed with the one I love. Be quiet. Don't arouse attention. Now, most people, when they hear that, figure that it's the person who's the narrator, but it could also be the rabbit. So I'll read it again and think of it the other way. You were startled to see me slinking across the parking lot at midnight this half-moon night, scavenging for food, wondering why I am not asleep in bed with the one I love. Be quiet. Don't arouse attention.
Bill is always so clever. It's a clever man there. Okay, Adrienne Unger. Let's give it up for Adrienne.
Boy, not necessarily prepared for an encore, but let's see what I can come up with. Jeez. Oh, all right. Yeah, let's stick with the love theme. All right. Please forgive me for reading this on my phone. Okay, praise. Praise life. The breath we take into ourselves turns our blood bright, that we may turn our meekness into robust steps. This life compels me to breathe, even as I hold it in at the sight of you, even as I think, how could I possibly? Praise to its pulse, the constant exchange from one form to another between lovers' kisses, a whisper, the big bang that begins and ends with you. Praise life that never fails to surprise. Before a static jolt, waiting for the proper sequence to sting me, afraid to make another approach. But how long can I wait to reach for the door? Take it in, exhale, and push through. Praise death. Was it the end or the beginning? It feels the same. I remember that joke you told, ended in blah, blah, blah. I laughed so hard. You're killing me, I said. That was the start of things. Praise death, the small and large fears that met their demise, their essence transformed. I can laugh again. Hail the passing of conceit held most dear, my high and mighty, the I don't think so, my some other day. You have destroyed them in me. I have said my goodbyes, but death does not care. It has a trek to finish or begin. Your love has pierced me, and I will die many deaths, kicking and screaming in joy.
Oh my goodness, let's hear it one more time for the featured poets and for this beautiful afternoon. I invite you all to come next month. I invite you all to please put something in the community poem jar. I thank Chip, I thank the library, I thank all of you. And oh my goodness, I thank Poetry Street on the road because it's a gift. It's a gift to me, I know, and I know to Chip and to everybody who's involved. So please come and be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.